A short time ago, Melbourne businessman and philanthropist Simon McKeon was announced the Australian of the Year. The 55-year-old had a successful career as a lawyer and investment banker before shifting his focus to encouraging the corporate community to help those in need. Simon McKeon is currently chairman of the CSIRO and is also involved in Red Dust Role Models, which works with remote Indigenous communities. And back in 1993, he set the world record for speed sailing in inland Victoria. Simon McKeon joins me now from Canberra. Simon McKeon, first of all, congratulations. And can I ask, what does this mean to you?
Tracy, it's extraordinarily humbling. I've been with all the other finalists today and learnt their stories, and look, why I've been chosen, I've given up trying to answer that. All I know is that it's a wonderful opportunity for me to tell Australians the sorts of things that have inspired me.
You were viewed as a potential chief executive of Macquarie Bank. You decided to go part-time and shift your focus towards philanthropy. What prompted that decision?
Look, I guess ever since I was a young boy growing up in one of the lower socioeconomic suburbs of Melbourne, I was someone who not only saw need but saw ways in which individuals, community service organisations, churches, whatever, responded so effectively to need. And for me, one didn't have to intellectualise it. It was just an obvious thing to do. And you know, I've wanted to fit a lot of things into my life, but I just didn't want to leave it too late until I'd seriously connected with community.
Australians are rightly or wrongly seen as being less philanthropic than certain other countries, people in other countries, particularly the US. Do you think that's right, and why might that be?
Well, I challenge that firstly. I think that the US at the moment has an extraordinary, or is experiencing extraordinary generosity amongst the very, very wealthy. But I think that when we look at most Australians, they're extraordinarily generous, certainly financially. We only have to see what happened in response to the tsunami and indeed the floods at the moment. So, look, my experience is actually that Australians are looking for ways to help.
You talked about the flood effort and the fact that corporate Australia is getting involved. Do you think that that is a good model?
Look, when a calamity such as the flood situation that we've experienced in so many states occurs, we need every sector to be working together, to be doing their bit. So government, clearly, the non-for-profit sector and business, all backed up by us as individuals. You know, there's no room for egos and, you know, I'm more important than you. It's a matter of a very important cooperative effort.
Can you give us an example of the sort of work you're doing and the areas you're focusing on?
Look, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. I support and am involved in a number of causes. And generally just working alongside extraordinary Australians who are leading the charge. But if I can mention one, I am chairman of a little organisation called Business for Millennium Development. It encourages Australian business, wherever possible, to operate in the developing world, the third world. Not so much to be a giver or a philanthropic organisation, but just to do what it does best, namely supply goods or services, but in a third world setting, not in Australia necessarily. And, you know, I've just seen some wonderful things that our little organisation is in turn catalysing at this point, particularly in Papua New Guinea. You
suffer from multiple sclerosis and you're a chairman of MS Research Australia. You've actually said that you have a certain fondness for your condition. Can you explain that?
Tracy, I don't talk often about my MS. It's not that I'm embarrassed, I really am not at all, but I've had a very easy ride. I was initially diagnosed 10 years ago when a couple of really nasty things happened to me, but and I didn't know what was to happen in the future. But since then, miraculously, my body is in pretty good shape, and you know, I don't really therefore talk about it all that much. But the reason I'm fond of it, as you say, is that I've had my moment of experiencing what it might have been like for, you know, much of my physical capacity to have been cut down. And as a result of that, it's very difficult for me to take any day for granted nowadays.
You now have another hat to wear, Australian of the Year, and historically this position involves people campaigning and using their year. How are you hoping to use the next 12 months?
Well, I am passionate about a number of causes, ranging from the environment to overseas aid and medical research, etc. But I think what I've tried to say a few moments ago in accepting the award is that I really just want to share my story of having experienced so much joy at getting involved, really getting dirt under the fingernails, if you like, by not just writing out a cheque, but spending time with the community sector. It's a wonderful sector, does incredible work, has amazing people in it, and I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun and fulfilling, and it's been terrific.